Hello and welcome to Quick Tip 70, and in this I'm going to be looking at adding a rectangle to a chart and some of the issues surrounding that. And of course it doesn't need to be a rectangle, we're talking about a drawing object added to the chart. And I've created this little program. The program has a method that draws a rectangle, and we do that using bn points. We're essentially passing to the method an integer representing the start bn point, the end bn point, then the high and the low. Then we're creating bn points using that information, start bn plus max bars back -1, which converts that integer into the same system of counting bars that the drawing objects use, together with the price. And we create those two bn points, and then we create the rectangle using those, using rectangle.create. And all of this, you can find out more information if you right click and then click on definition, or equally if you right click on rectangle and then definition. And then I'm filling the rectangle with actually a random color using color from ARGB. And you can see we've got the 255 representing the alpha value, and then we've got a random value for each of the RGB colors. And the same, that's the outline of the rectangle, and then for the fill color, using the same thing. Going to be different random colors for the most part, but random colors, setting the weight of the border weight to 6. And to start with, I'm going to set this as persist, and we're not going to extend the rectangle to the right, and then we're adding the rectangle to the chart. So that's what this simple method does. And then we're calling the method in this part of the program here. And what I've done is created a Boolean, and this Boolean called drawRect is initially false, but when we've drawn the rectangle, the Boolean is set to true. And we do this on the last bar of the chart. And then furthermore, what I've done after we've drawn the rectangle, I've put a thing saying number of rectangles drawn, and that's going to count the number of drawing objects on the chart of type 7, which is, like we have this case, a rectangle drawn by, in this case, the indicator. And then also the value of the drawRect Boolean. And then also I've put before where we're drawing the rectangle, I've added another print statement, and this shows you the value of the drawRect before we draw the rectangle. Okay, so let's just have a look at what that does. What I'm going to do is just refresh the chart, and you'll see now that the rectangle is changing color. In actual fact, what's really happening is that the rectangle is being drawn and redrawn, and we can see down here that the number of rectangles drawn is now up to 5. And you'll see that even though the Boolean is true, or we're setting the Boolean to true, it's somehow going back to being false. And if you were to actually move these rectangles around, you'll see that they're all actually still there, because we've said the rectangle can persist. And if I just kept on doing this, you would find that in all there are at the moment 15 rectangles. Okay, so what's happening? Well, actually what is happening is that during the bar, this Boolean drawRect keeps getting turned back to what it was, because it's not an intra-bar persist variable at the moment. So essentially, if we just left this as it is, the rectangle would keep on redrawing until the end of the bar, and then we'd be left with all these rectangles. Only normally they'd all be on top of each other, so you wouldn't see them. And this could be a problem if the number of drawing objects on a chart can affect the memory availability, and in fact you'll probably see a warning if we get over a certain number of drawing objects applied to the chart. So let's just see how we could change that. What we could do, and I alluded to that a moment ago, is we could use an intra-bar persist variable. To do that, we just add intra-bar persist before the variable name. So I'm going to verify the program, go back to the chart, and I'm going to do a refresh, and you'll see now that we've got one rectangle drawn. And if you look down at the print log, you'll see that we've got one rectangle drawn. So the drawRect Boolean is set to true, and it continues to be set to true from tick to tick to tick. The other option for us, and this is going back to more like drawing objects used to behave, or still do behave, but using the the legacy drawing object tools is to actually set the new rectangle persist to false. And I'm just going to take off the intrabar persist for a moment. So we're setting the persist to be false, but we will be continuing to redraw the rectangle because I've just turned off the intrabar persist. So let's just verify that and go back to the chart. And you'll see now that the rectangle is redrawing, but if you look down on the print log, you'll see that the number of rectangles drawn remains 1. So the color is changing, so we're redrawing it. But if I try and move that rectangle, you'll see that actually there is only 1 rectangle being drawn on the chart. So the first way of doing it, using the intrabar persist, could be useful if you wanted to catch some information in the middle of the bar as it's developed. This is more like what you would expect if you were using the legacy drawing tools. And then one other thing I just wanted to do, if we just comment out this statement and uncomment this statement. So here we're just running the method once on the last bar of the chart, and we've got the persist to be false. So let's just see what that does. So I'm going to verify it, start it again. So once we have the thing drawn, but you'll notice now that because this is not set to, let me just show you just to make sure you saw that, because persist is not set to true, what will happen, because we're just drawing this once on one tick, then it is disappearing because we do not have persist set to true. So I'll do that one more time, refresh the chart, and another tick arrives, and boom, it's gone. The number of rectangles drawn is 0. So again, if we went back to persist and we set that to true, we then go to the chart and refresh it, you'll see that we draw the rectangle and we do have a new tick, but the rectangle remains. So hopefully that will be useful. Thank you very much.